Well, Joel Manchester is well known in the province as a member of the Fredericton band Run the River. He's just released a deeply personal debut single on his own. It's called Suddenly Violently, and it's about his struggle with panic disorder. He wanted to release it this week, Mental Health Week, to provide a voice for others who may be struggling. Good afternoon, Joel.
Hi there.
So, Joel, the song sounds great, lyrically and musically. Let's talk, if we can, about the inspiration. I mean, how long did you struggle with panic disorder before you were diagnosed? What did it look like for you?
Yeah, well, it's been a long journey. I had my first panic attack at 8 years old. At that time, I was just kind of a sensitive kid, I guess, and people would, back in the day, would be like, that's what he's dealing with. But looking back, it was, starting to have panic attacks then. They happened infrequently until they kind of ramped up when I was in high school, and then I was diagnosed. I'm trying to remember if I was 17 or 18. So I was diagnosed with, anxiety, panic disorder, with kind of subsequent depression, as well as ADHD at the same time. So yeah. It was like,
How did you process that when you were a child? I mean, at 8 years old, having a panic attack, what did you think was happening?
Oh, goodness, that's a good question. I think I just thought I was, dying, right? The whole world around me was just collapsing. Like, it was just kind of impending doom. And before the panic attack ever materialized, I would just feel very anxious at night. I was anxious all the time, but especially at night. And it just started to get worse and worse to the point where at 8 years old, like, the reason I say it was a panic attack is I kind of got so overwhelmed that I ran out of bed and I just started running in my house and ended up in the corner of a room, just kind of crying, overwhelmed with who knows what, right? And that was part of it. I was just overwhelmed a lot. And then it would just kind of peak in that kind of panic.
It sounds terrifying.
You don't really know how to process it. Yeah. It was terrifying. Yeah, it was.
And as you got older and they became more frequent, what did that mean for your teen years? What did school look like? What did family life look like when you were dealing with this?
It affected everything. It really did. So school, I was missing a lot of school. I ended up homeschooled at the end of grade 6 because I just was missing so much school and, being crying pretty much every day saying, I don't want to go to school. And then, my parents kind of got to a point where they couldn't force me anymore. They just said, well, maybe we can homeschool you for the end of grade 6. And anyway, I went back to school in grade 7, but they would kind of come and go too. As other people with mental illness, it kind of can come in cycles and you feel sometimes like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit better now. And maybe I'm kind of through the worst of it. And then sometimes it can get worse again. And that can be very discouraging. I know when I was a kid, it was. And it affected my relationships. I didn't like to go see movies in the theaters. I didn't like to go to restaurants. I was kind of overstimulated by a lot of sounds and smells. And it was just a constant kind of, what is wrong with me? Why am I like this?
And I'm sure that you talked to people over the years. What was it like, though, when you finally got a diagnosis, when you heard what this was? Was there some relief there?
Oh, yeah, for sure. At the time, there's so much of just, am I kind of going crazy? Am I going to lose my mind? Am I just kind of slowly teetering on the edge of, being able to survive in this life? And then when you have a diagnosis and that there's other people out there that are going through the same thing, I started reading a little bit more about it, talking to my doctor about it. And it was it's actually anxiety in general is fairly prevalent, and mental illness as well, as much as, I still even have a hard time saying it. I try so hard to be open, but you kind of say this mental illness, and it just feels kind of dirty in a weird way, but the mind is a very complicated thing. And, it's kind of the thing that steers us between our emotions, between, all of these things. It's so easy for, I think us to get overwhelmed and that's fine. And that's a normal thing for me. It became so, affected everything in my life so much that's where it kind of becomes an illness, where it's okay, we need to do something about this. And I ended up, getting some medication for it, that helped a little bit, support from my family, obviously, because they finally had some understanding of what I was going through, a little bit more than just seeing it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely helped a lot. And my high school, my doctor wrote a note to my high school that said, this is what Joel's diagnosis is. And I finally had some help, from the school where they understood as well, like why I was missing so much time and why I was struggling the way I was. Because sometimes I'd have panic attacks in class and just like not come back to class. Like I would just leave and then, so it was hard for teachers and people to really understand what was going on.
It's been a long while, of course, since you were in high school now. So, I'm sure these things don't go away, but you deal with them through life. And how have you found, coping mechanisms? How has that worked for you?
And that's like, it's a tough one because like you said, it doesn't necessarily go away. And I think when I was younger, the goal, I was just like, I just want to be normal. And then you just kind of learn this, like, there is no normal. Like everyone has something that they're going through. And we do get good, unfortunately, at hiding those things from each other. For me, a huge part of it was just really not hiding it anymore and just saying, it's not necessarily a broken part of me, but maybe it's just, something that comes from some of my good qualities that just, sometimes I think of it as like, a car and its engine, you have to kind of match the tires to the car. Like if you have a powerful engine, but tires that can't grip to the ground, then you just spin your tires all the time. Or, it's just figuring out what works for you, what kind of things like stimulate you in ways that maybe are unhelpful. But like for me, being creative, like staying creative is like probably my biggest saving grace. Like the days that are the worst for me are the days that I pick up my guitar the most and start trying to like channel that into something. So really like perspective, I think is the biggest thing. Yes, there's medications, of course, that are super helpful in going to doctors and not being afraid to talk to people about it. But, finding ways to look for that silver lining, like what is it about this? And can I help other people? And that's another thing for me, like, creating an avenue where open dialogue and maybe making people feel less alone then helps me feel less alone. And it's like kind of a cycle, that helps you instead of a vicious cycle, it's like a helpful cycle, You start going in the right direction.
Well, and that brings us to this song, of course, because you're so right. There still is, even though we talk about mental illness more now than we did when I was young, there's still that stigma, it seems, around it. And we still are hiding from each other in this way. And you're not doing that with this song. You are trying to be a voice. Tell me why you wanted to write this song, why you wanted to really put it out there in this way and try to reach people.
Like first and foremost, it's I think, like I said, almost like a survival for me to put a song out there. Like, but because it's such a vulnerable song, like I've written lots of songs. This one, it just kind of happened at the time that it needed to happen. I guess that's the best way I could put it. Where I was struggling a little more than I had been, and I just was like, okay, I need to not hide any of this anymore, and I've done different creative projects that were related to my mental health before. And this one was, just another chance for me to, I guess it's funny because it feels like taking that risk of trusting that it's the right thing to do, to put it out there, not hiding it, not kind of being ashamed is the right move, even though it doesn't feel right sometimes. Like it feels scary. And of course, as someone with anxiety, like it can feel really scary. But it's just very true to me, this song. And I felt the need to write it. And then once it was written, I collaborated with Colin Fowlie, and he really encouraged me to like, don't be afraid to be vulnerable, even just vocally, because I always like add many harmonies to my own vocals. So it was funny because the song process was, reflected kind of my own internal process as well. So I think, it was just something I needed to do. And now it's out there.
Yeah, it's only been out for a couple of days, but, how are you feeling? Are you hearing from people?
Yeah. There's been lots of feedback online. It's funny because when you release a song, like first and foremost, it's like friends and family, right? Like they kind of knew, and they know that I'm a songwriter, and I said that I was putting out this song that was a little more vulnerable and a little more related to my mental health journey. And I've had lots of encouragement, like people reaching out, which is really nice. Even just some people in the music community saying, you're not alone, Joel. If you're ever struggling, let me know, which means so much to me. I mean, that's what it's all about, community, right? Is like we have each other's backs. I mean, like, and I don't just mean the music community.
Yeah.
I mean, like the human community, right? Like, it's so important to check in with each other. And I think that's what this has created. Like, since the song has come out, like I've had a couple people check in with me. I've checked in with a couple people, and I love making music and I love sharing music, but really, like, that's what it's all about. It's about like remembering that we're in this journey together. And if this song can kind of spark that with some people, then the goal, my goal has been achieved, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That is how this whole human being thing is supposed to work.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right. We're going to give it a spin. Thank you so much, Joel, for talking with us, sharing your experience. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's been my pleasure, and thanks for taking the time.
It's valuable. I'm sure of that. Take care.
Okay, you too.
Joel Manchester is a songwriter in Fredericton. Here's his single. It's available now. This is Suddenly, Violently.
Violently, these thoughts becoming clear. Me silently filling up with fear. In spite of every supportive word I hear, I'm still broken beyond love's repair, my dear. Heavy eyes and an avalanche of tries. If I resign, it should come as no surprise. They say that tangled thoughts befall the wise. I'm so sick of lessons learned from the sunrise, and all that I said will become echoes in someone else's head. And all of these stars, final try at healing all these scars. And all my life I've been running like I knew something was coming. I was hoping it'd be loving, but the shadows fall so sudden. All my life I've been running like I knew something was coming. I was hoping it'd be loving, but the shadows fall so suddenly, violently, suddenly, violently. All my life I've been running like I knew something was coming. I was hoping it'd be loving, but the shadows fall so sudden. All my life I've been running like I knew something was coming. I was hoping it'd be loving, but the shadows fall so suddenly, suddenly, violently.
That is Joel Manchester. The song is Suddenly Violently, out this week from East and Nowhere Songsmiths.